You're watching a Big Z review. Skillhouse is a new horror film from director Josh Stolberg and producer Ryan Kavanaugh. And somehow, it finally came out. I was actually able to watch it in theaters. And it's really bad, of course.
What the? Is anybody hurt?
Here's the rules. If you try to leave the grounds of the house, you die. If you call for help, you will die. Whoever has the fewest amount of likes, you will die.
And that's my cue. Is no one else coming?
I'm gonna see how it goes for you.
Ryan's movie coming out. I need it. I even texted Bryce and I said, bro, what's up? I want to watch the movie. And he tells me, I haven't heard anything. You're the star of the movie, man.
That is so
what are you talking about?
So if you don't know the backstory of Skillhouse, there is a lot going on. Basically, if I'm a fan of the H3 podcast from H3H3 and the Ethan Klein, and a couple years ago, there was the Jake Paul Ben Askren fight, which was put on by Triller, which was owned by Ryan Kavanaugh, who is like a multi-millionaire kind of douchebag. But the fight was only like 30 seconds long, and the H3 podcast did a segment about it. But after it, like he sued a bunch of people for illegally streaming the match. And one of the people that I sued was the H3 podcast. And then Ethan Klein is like the pettiest bitch in the internet content world. So then he went on a campaign for years, like bashing Ryan Kavanaugh and bringing up all this stuff about him, a person that nobody really knew unless you're in the business. And actually, just recently, they actually settled their lawsuit. I think because Ethan Klein is going on a different war front, his lawyers need to be not dealing with this, and they need to be dealing with other stuff. The Hassan orbiters that stole his video. But essentially now, as part of the settlement, he had to edit out all the times he talked about Ryan Kavanaugh. And, he talked about the Skillhouse. And this was a new product he's doing, a horror film about, like, a Saw, but with internet influencers. And, like, they even did, like, a really good, like, sketch about it called H3 Hell House, H3LL House. And, like, they've talked about multiple times about how they didn't think it was ever going to come out. Because previously they did, like, they put out this 7-minute clip on their own, like, website. But then he said he was going to sue people because he accidentally went live before he was supposed to. It was like Gen TV. And if you look Gen TV, like, it had all these AI movie posters. There's just so many shenanigans. And, like, if you don't know, there's, like, I know most of the stuff's going to be disappearing, but people have put out, like, compilations of the best moments. But this is, like, multiple podcasts, hours of content bashing Ryan Kavanaugh of all the crazy things he's done. The short version is that, like, he was, like, at first sued by a co-owner of his business that said under oath that his business was a Ponzi scheme. And that's why he sued Ethan Klein for saying that. Because actually, the article that was on, they took it down. Well, then they didn't take it down. That's the thing. They left it up, but they put a correction on the bottom because the business partner, after settling, he took away his claim that it was a Ponzi scheme. But, like, the first time he said it, he didn't say that. Even though the article still is exactly the same, but they have an annotation at the bottom about it. So this is all allegedly, because I don't want to be sued, I'm a nobody. But, essentially, I mean, they came up so much different stuff about him. How, like, he had multiple wedding recklesses. That he made a podcast called the Failure Podcast because of Ethan Klein. And he was, like, suing Wikipedia or he's trying to get, like, the people that Wikipedia editors were, like, adding stuff that Ethan Klein found and talked about. Like, there's so much shenanigans. Even that, like, he was cucked possibly by his friend Brad the Bull, and even like Ethan Klein actually had Bryce Hall, who was the main star of Skillhouse, on the show, and he had him call Brad the Bull, who is also Bryce Hall's agent.
Yo, we're live right now.
Brad the Bull, the legend, the stallion. He looked pissed. I heard. Hey, Brad. Thanks for taking care of her, bro.
Stop. It's not like that.
So there's just so much shenanigans. They even had on his failure podcast, Ryan Kavanaugh had Bryce Hall and Brad the Bull on. I looked up for YouTube. I think the failure podcast, I don't know if they're even up anymore now. They realized how much of a failure his failure podcast was. But now on to the actual movie. It is just such a Saw ripoff that is just, it's just bad. And that's the thing, the whole idea is that like a person kidnaps all of these influencers and he puts some mechanism around their neck and he has to, you want to play a game? And basically they have to like have phones around their wrists and they have to always keep their phone and they have to post on it like it's an actual content house because this was filmed in the Sway house. And like it's just so uninspired and so bad, and it's not bad enough to be funny bad. It's not funny bad. There are a couple moments, and like there are a bunch of different actors. There aren't even really that many actual like influencers. I think they would have had more influencers, but one that they do have is Paige Van Zandt, you know, the MMA fighter, and now like I think she does OnlyFans stuff now, or I know, but like. She is the only one that, when they introduce her, she's like, I'm a fighter, but I'm also an actor. And it's like, ooh. Like, she is one of the first people that get killed off, though. And it's like, oh, man. The acting was so bad that it could have been more funny throughout the movie. And the thing is, some of the kills are okay. But, like, I will be spoilers now for this shit show of a movie, but I don't recommend anyone watch it, so I don't mind spoiling stuff. But like they have this like device around the neck, then a string, and it's so obvious that at the same time when it's not that bad, you know it's gonna be annoying to film in, and they always say like they can't get it off, but then a couple times you see them. Like from the back, and it looks like it has like a quick detachment. Because you know it'd be annoying to have this like little circle thing right around your throat the whole time filming. So like in between when they weren't filming, they had to get that off. But like they seem like they can't get it off.
Hey, do you see a clasp on this?
But they can't decide what it does too. But like the first time they first showed that, oh, you can't leave the property or you'll die. It like turns and twists the neck and like decapitates the two people. And then later on in the movie, it explodes. And it's like, you can decide what this little tiny machine that they somehow created does. And the funny thing is too, they did even more drama past the Ethan Klein drama. Like, because like before it was like he said it's never going to come out. And then, because even more that it was never going to come out, because the 50 Cent has a small part in this. And he sued Ryan Kavanaugh and Gen TV to not release this film in April because he didn't get paid like enough for his role. Like he was like more a cameo, but then they were using his name and the horror film starring 50 Cent. And he wanted more money from it and they refused to give him more money. But apparently he must have settled that lawsuit too, probably threw some money at him. But like so much of this stuff that the whole thing is that if you don't like again Ryan Kavanaugh, who's the producer of this film, he was the owner of Triller, and I guess he's still associated it. It's like the Temu version of TikTok. I guess not technically because TikTok is a Chinese app. Although now it's going to become a weird American app that's only in America that they're going to do weird bullshit. But Triller, they were hoping that the TikTok ban would make them, everyone's going to come to Triller. And no one came to Triller. And the funny thing is that they think that, like, Triller is getting millions of views hosting this house where people get murdered. And no one seems to be bothered by it. Like, but the funny thing, throughout the film, they kept having this, like, stock footage of, like, people looking at their phones like, oh my God. And I think, it took me out of it. Every time they had these people, this stock footage of people watching a phone with what's going on. The whole time, the whole concept is that, like, they're filming themselves and they're, like, security cameras filming them. But, like, whenever they have footage, that's obviously a guy holding a camera that could not be, or a drone. It couldn't be from, like, they have this weird, this, like, crappy little camera filming them. And it's obviously not that. But, the whole idea of it becomes too much just like an actual, like, content house. But it's a lot less traumatizing than the real content house. I know there's so many shenanigans that happen in these different content houses. I know there's, like, a new one that just popped up. There is this OnlyFans content house where, like, a bunch of the girls are, like, cosplaying as underage girls. Like, they're, like, have braces and they look young. And then they actually brought, like, a 16 or 17-year-old into the house, even though she wasn't yet doing OnlyFans, but she was at the OnlyFans content house. And it's just, there's so many weird stuff going on around the web. But, like, this one, I almost wish they would have done, like, a battle royale and have them just, like, going after and killing each other. And they have moments of that, especially towards the end. Especially the one person that, like, there's, like, she takes her business coat off, and he has, like, a white t-shirt on with highlights, and then he gets all bloody, and it's like a bloody wet t-shirt contest. Okay, I'm fine with that. But, like, there's, like, one fight scene between her and one of the other guys. And it's like, I wish there was more of that, but at least that's kind of fun. At least something is happening instead of just this, like, weird making content bullshit. And it's like, oh no, you didn't get enough likes. You die now. And the house is so, like, there's, like, all these gas things that come out, and, like, if they have gas them all when it's time to, one of them is going to be taken out. And I think that they really make bad mistakes with, like, they break the horror, what, like, the what you're supposed to do in horror films. The thing is that, like, if you don't see a kill on screen in a horror film, then that person's not dead. That's, like, a whole thing. And they do that a little bit later on. But earlier on, they don't show kills. And then they show the aftermath of the kill. And there are some okay practical effects for the after kills. But, like, there's not enough for, like, when the actual kill. But, too, like, they show, like, oh, the dismembered body, the fake body is like, oh, okay. Why didn't you show the actual kill then? And, too, some of the kills, there are some kind of brutal ones. I wish they went even more brutal. If they had the money. Ryan Kavanaugh is, like, almost a billionaire, I think. He could throw some money, like, pay some people to make some really cool stuff. But I guess he doesn't want to do that. But, like, the one thing, they have, like, this magic acid. For one, they do, like, a Saw trick where, like, oh, you are tied up with rubber hose. This acid eats everything except rubber. Will you get out? And she's, like, pouring acid. Like, that's not how acid works. But, fine. They set it up that is a super acid that will, and they show it eating away her bones, and it's not a bad effect. But then, like, at the same time, the hose, the way they have her strapped in, it's like, you could just pull yourself out of that. And then if you're putting acid on your skin, you could, like, pull it off. Like, it's not that tight. And the one kill, the ropes are not that tight. It's like they made the people comfortable, but then it's like, it's not really work for what's happening. But too, it's so funny. Later on, Neil McDonough is like the only actor, the bigger actor, and he's like a mercenary, a fake cop. But like he's like at first you think he's gonna be this. Again, spoilers. Like he's like the one that's doing everything. But then at one point they lock him in the room where they did the acid kill, and like there's acid here, and they throw the bucket of acid at Neil McDonough's face, and it's like we just watched her pouring a little acid on her foot and eating away her bones and everything. And he like gets a bucket of acid thrown on his face, and he just has like a little burn on his face. He's fine. That super acid doesn't affect him. He has magic skin. He doesn't even run to a face wash or anything. Like I was a chemist. Like I have a BS in chemistry, and no acid works like that. But if it did, it should work like that throughout the film. And like, you know, a lot of the kills are just not very good. But like, it's funny. Like, I love a lot of like following stuff to how to do the practical effects. I love watching behind the scenes and that one old the Face Off. You know, that one of my favorite canceled reality shows, which probably like people like amateur special effects people like doing challenges and stuff. And one thing I want to say, it's so much easier to add with practical effects. It's so much more difficult to take stuff away. And this one, the girl, like she's like at the end, she's like cutting her face. I think it's Daniela Laveros. Like she's cutting her face, and it's like, oh, that's cool. No, oh, that's a little. They're going pretty far, and it's like, okay, that's not bad. That's a little cringy. Okay. And then they go too far, and she like actually skins her face off, and it's like, how did her lips get bigger? Something's not right here. But it is one of the only funny moments on purpose funny, because like the Triller app bans her for self-harm, and it's like, oh no, and then she gets killed because her head explodes because she got banned from Triller. And it's like, so wait, Triller is okay with showing the brutal murder of all these people in this house, but it draws a line on self-harm. I don't know if I like Ron Kavanaugh was like, we can't show this for Triller. Can we do something about that? Or maybe it actually they trying to make a joke and it was a decent joke. I don't know. But it's just so much of this. Like they do, again, big spoiler. Bryce Hall is in charge of it all. Of course, he's the only person I knew on this cast. Like, I don't think any of them, I think the people are actors. I don't know if they're actual influencers. But Bryce Hall is the only one that's like actually a relatively big influencer, and he's playing an influencer in this movie. But like, they revealed that like he is the guy behind it all. But in the beginning of the movie, like someone kidnaps him and his sister and kills his sister, and everyone thinks that he's the killer. Then he's going after the people that made fun of him in videos. But what I don't get is who was the original killer, but apparently it's just Bryce Hall. And Bryce Hall, in real life and this character, is not smart. And neither is 50 Cent, who it turns out in the end is also in charge of this. And neither is, I mean, the one guy is just like a mercenary, Neil McDonough. Like, who is their tech whiz? Who set up this mansion with all these traps? Who created this necklace that either blows up or twists around and decapitates people? Who set this up? They need another person now with a tech whiz. Unless 50 Cent is secretly a tech whiz. I don't think he is. I don't think he's supposed to be in this either. And two, it's so funny. There's this whole twist at the end is that this girl is watching it. Is one of the people that's not stock footage, and she's like watching it and trying to figure out where this house is. And it's like, yeah, this is like a beautiful mansion in like Beverly Hills or something like that. And it's like, I think the police would be able to figure this out. I mean, there are people that on TikTok that will like find a picture of something and be able to geolocate it exactly. I think that if millions of people are watching this, I think they would find this house and would save everyone. But the second big plot twist, they have one plot twist that Bryce Hall, he was shot, but it was a squib. It wasn't real, and he's the actual behind it all. But then they have the girl like find the house and come in and think, oh, they're gonna save her boyfriend who happens to be black. And then you see her talking about it, and it's like, well, I didn't want to tell him, but he was in a dangerous gang when he was a kid. And like, gang, uh-oh, you're gonna blame it on the black guy. Like, and it's like, that's what they do. It's like, but why? She, obviously from watching it, she wasn't involved, but then she went to the Skillhouse and thought Bryce Hall was so hot that she killed her boyfriend and saved Bryce Hall, I guess? I don't know. Like, this movie is so bad. But it's funny, I traveled like 2 hours to see Superman in IMAX, and I saw they had Skillhouse at 7 and Superman at 9:15, and I was like, I could actually see Skillhouse in theaters? Like, it was a Phasm event, but I mean, I was like, let's fucking go, you know? But it's bad. I would not recommend it. I'd probably give like a 3 out of 10. But thanks for watching. If you want to see more of me, you can subscribe down below. Thanks.
Bryce Hall, the most popular, the coolest, you know, kind of the bad boy, getting a lot of fights, you know, but you have a great time, you love to party, and you're so popular.
Brian Kavanaugh is a force of nature.
Too much wine, sorry.